Hello, welcome to this session of Jmeter video tutorial series. We'll be covering here Introduction to Jmeter, Jmeter installation and configuring class path, launching the interface, and getting to know some more features of Jmeter, overview of Jmeter test elements. We'll also see how we can create a basic test script to test any website and executing the same with different settings. We'll see how to read results of this test plan, that is this test script that we just created, adding and removing elements, and saving these elements. So let us get started. The first thing, that is Introduction to Jmeter. Well, Jmeter is an open source tool for performance testing. It is a Java-based application, desktop application, that is used to do performance testing on it was basically meant for website testing, but now it has been upgraded. You can cover many protocols, like you can also test web services. You can test database using JDBC connectivity with Jmeter. This is by Apache. Okay, so that is why we call it Apache Jmeter. Okay, so let us see how we can get hold of this software. Since this is not licensed, this is an open source. So you can simply Google it. Just type in Jmeter. The very first link that points to jmeter.apache.org. Okay, so from here on the left side you do see About, Download, and Documentation. Under Download you see Download Releases. You can click on this link. So basically what we're doing right now is we're downloading this Jmeter tool, Apache Jmeter. So you see here Apache Jmeter 2.8. 2.8 is the current version, and the prerequisite for this, for Jmeter 2.8 to run, is this, that it requires Java 1.5 or above. Just below it, you see two sections here, binary and source. What you need is Apache Jmeter 2.8 zip file. Okay, binary is nothing but where from where you can launch the GUI, the interface of Jmeter. Source will give you access to the code. It is written in Java. Since it's a Java-based application, you can have access to the source file of a Jmeter tool from the source section here. But we are interested in this zip file, apache-jmeter-2.8.zip. So just download this here. I can create a folder for this download. Still some time left for this to download. This is a small file, 25 MB file. It's not a big software like other commercial softwares which are in GBs. So this is just a small 25 MB zip file. You also see in the binary section, you see apache-jmeter-2.8.tgz. So this Apache, since this is a Java-based application and Java is platform independent, meaning to say that it can run on any platform, Unix or Windows-based system. So .zip is for Windows-based systems. Like if you have your operating system as Windows, you can have this .zip file, unzip it, and use the tool. If you're working on Unix, then you need to have the first link downloaded, that is tgz. So some more time left for Jmeter to get download. To get downloaded, it is still few seconds left. Alright, it is done. So here we go. Let me open the download folder. I'm just going to cut it from here and put it in the folder on desktop that I just created for this purpose. Alright. So I have the zip file here, and now I will unzip this file. I'll extract the contents into Jmeter folder. Another prerequisite for you guys to work with Jmeter is that you must have Java installed. Since it's a Java application, it will require JDK. That also I'll cover just now, how to get Java installed on your machine. Let me just first unzip this tool. Alright, it's done. So there are two folders, so I'm just going to, because there were two folders created. Okay, so when you go into this folder, you see bin, docs, extra, lib, and printable docs. Printable docs is nothing but help files. We are interested in this bin folder. Okay, over here you see the batch file, Jmeter. This is nothing but a batch file, .bat. If I want to show you the extension of it, this is ms.batch file. So we can launch the interface of Jmeter by simply double clicking on this icon here, jmeter.bat file. So it will show you the small console, this console prompt window, and it will launch. It is preparing to launch the interface. Just give it a moment. So it is loading the class files and all for this tool. So here you see the interface of Jmeter. We'll come to it in some time. Let's go back and see how we can have Java installed. Similarly, you can search for JDK. As you know, for working with Jmeter version 2.8, you require JDK version 1.5 and above. So you say JDK 1.5, or you can also say download Java. The very first link, click on that, and it will give you Java download link here, free Java download. Java again is the open source, so there is no cost involved. You can click on this free Java download and the download will begin. Okay, you just agree and start free download. I already have it on my system, so maybe I will not spend time showing you the installation. It's a very easy one. Just click on it and it will begin to first download it on your machine, and then it will prompt you automatically to install Java. Once you have it installed, how can you check whether you have successfully installed or not? You can go to your C drive, and in your C drive, in program files, you'd see Java folder here. So this is, I have JRE version 7 installed, and you can see here, this is Java folder. Okay. This is about how you can have Jmeter installed on your machine. Let's go back to agenda. Okay, so we have seen introduction to Jmeter, Jmeter installation. We are still remaining with configuring class path. Okay, if mostly you will not require the step of configuring class path, still I would just cover it many a times. If your script is not getting generated or Jmeter fails to work, then you can do this workaround. You have to set class path. Class path is where Jmeter jar files, Jmeter will look for jar files. Okay, so you can right click on your My Computer, go to Properties, just hold on, My Computer, Properties, and under Advanced tab, you see Environment Variables. So you will have to set the path in Environment Variables. Wherever you have installed Java over here, you take this path of bin folder, copy it from here, and you can go to the system variables. You see the two sections here, user variables and system variables. In system variables, you already have a variable named path. In path, you select this path, edit it. Don't remove this variable value by any chance. Let it remove. Just reach at the end of it by pressing the end key, put semicolon, and then paste the path that you just copied. That is C:program files java gre bin. Until this path bin, you just copy it in the path, and this is one configuration of class path. Doing this will solve the problem. If you are facing any issues with working with Jmeter in the sense that it is not able to script or produce any steps for you, then you may try out this option of setting the class path. So why you need to do this setting is because, well, in Java you have classes. Okay, you have classes, and a jar file is something which has collection of classes in it. Since Jmeter is a Java application, it will require to access the classes from jar files. Now, if you look at this folder structure of Jmeter, you would see that there is bin folder in which we, when we double click the jmeter.bat file, the interface launches. Other two folders, there's one more folder called lib. Inside lib, you'll see a lot of jar files, executable jar files. If you look at the format of these files, you will see these are executable jar files. Now, these jar files are nothing but the collection of classes, and a class is something in Java which has the code that executes. Okay. Now, automatically we have this setting done that Jmeter will look for the jar files, look for the classes, the class files it requires to work inside this lib folder. Okay. So suppose for example, Jmeter is looking for some class file which is part of this jar file, commons-jxl-2.1.1. So this is a jar file inside which there are many classes, and when you're writing any function related to Jmeter is going to look for a class which is part of this jar file. Okay, so automatically it is going into this lib folder to look for the class file, or it might go into extension folder as well. Okay, so these are the two locations where it will look for the files. Now, Jmeter will look for these jar files by default in this Java home/lib. So you may also require to set this variable. Now this is a user variable. Similarly, like we edited the path system variable, we will also add one more user variable. Go to My Computers, right click Properties, under Advanced tab, go to Environment Variables, and you can create a new variable, Java, all caps, Java _home, and have this path pointing to where your, just one level above where your GRE is. Okay, just copy it and we can put it in that. Okay, so you may require it. It is not a necessity, although I mean, if you have a problem while working with JMeter, only then you set the two class paths. You set these two variables, Java home in your user variables, and you edit your path variable in system variable. Path system variable, you just add until your bin path, until this path you must append at the end of path variable. Okay, these two settings you may require to do. So this is all done. Now we'll see this interface. By default, you see the screen is divided into two parts. On the left here, you have test plan and workbench. On the right side, this is the information panel. On the right panel, you will see information about the selected node here. On left, I have selected test plan. You see the information corresponding to test plan here. This is the panel here, which shows name, comments, the section user defined variables, and other things. We'll come back to these options later on. The next is workbench. So whenever you start a new script, whenever you start your JMeter interface, you would see these two nodes on the left pane, test plan and workbench. Test plan is nothing but it's a container to hold your script. Okay, so whatever scripting, whatever scenario that you have, you intend to record or you intend to create a test for, that would be stored in test plan. Workbench is nothing but a temporary folder. It's just like it serves as a storehouse. So whatever you do, you can store it in the workbench. Okay, and whatever steps are required as part of test plan, you can move them into test plan folder. I show you this right now. But for now, you just understand that whenever you open a script, you will see two nodes: test plan, which is actually nothing but JMeter test script, and workbench, which is a temporary workspace to store test elements. Now we'll go again in details, looking at the various test elements which become part of JMeter test plan. Okay, you can create a new script by this icon here, or when you launch from jmeter.bat, automatically you will see these two tabs. Okay, so this is about JMeter features. It also the operating systems it supports is Unix, Linux, and Windows. Okay, now we will see how we can use various test elements in JMeter test plan. Okay, JMeter supports HTTP request, FTP request, SOAP or XML requests, JDBC, LDAP request to a server. Okay, so we move forward here. When you right click on the test plan, you will see this add menu, under which you have various elements. These are nothing but test elements. You have threads. As I mentioned before, threads are nothing but users or virtual users, because they are created by the software, they're created by the tool. They're not real users. So under thread, there is a thread group. This is the very first thing that you must add to a test plan. So I add a thread group to the test plan, and on the right side, you see in the right panel, you see the information about this thread group element, name thread group. You can edit the name. Suppose I want to call it 10 users. Okay, So I'm just naming it by editing the name field. I can put a comment 10 users test. Okay. So let the other thread properties be as it is, the default number of threads, nothing but number of users, that is 1. Ramp up period, as I mentioned, ramp up is what is the duration in which you want all your users to be in the system. Okay. Then there is loop count and forever, which is set to 1. We'll come back to this in some time. Firstly, I'm just going to show you a small test, like how it works. So you have first added thread group, under which you will add a controller. Even if you don't have a controller, that will work, but that is it's a good practice to have a controller. So I'm just going to have a simple controller. A controller is nothing but a container here, which will hold similar steps or any number of steps. Okay, you can have the entire flow in entire scenario, steps involved in entire scenario also added in the in a simple controller. So it is just to basically organize your code, okay, modularize your code. So you may want to add some logic to it. For example, you may want to add a certain section of the code depending on some condition. Okay, so in that case, it will allow you to not only just organize your code, also add logic to the flow. So I will just add simple controller. I will right click on this simple controller, go to add, and I have sampler. This section here in which you see a lot of samplers. Sampler in context with Jmeter is nothing but a request. So these are all request type. So what kind of request do you want to send to the server? Let me just make it clear with the help of a diagram, like how a request, like how do we access web application? Okay. What is the architecture? So I'm just going to open Paintbrush. Okay. So what happens is you have a browser here and you have a server here. Okay. This is a web server. This is a web server and this is a browser. It can be Chrome, Mozilla, IE, whatever. Now, usually what happens when you click on a link, say you have opened up any URL, say google.com, and when you click on a link, this request in HTML format reaches the server. Okay, this is nothing but a request, and when your request reaches the server decodes it, understands what is being asked for, creates a response again in HTML format, because browser understands HTML. It can only render HTML. So this web server replies the response back, okay, in HTML format. Okay. Now this communication, this request and response, they happen in pair. Okay, there can be many requests, many responses, but usually there is a request and corresponding to which there is a response. Now the protocol, the communication medium is HTTP. So that is why I would call it an HTTP request, because it is this protocol is being used for this communication. Similarly, you may have again a client server application. This is the client, may not be a web-based client, and you have a server. It can be an FTP server. You are requesting for a file. This is sending you a file. Now this kind of communication, this is not HTTP because it is not happening using this protocol. Okay, so you are asking for file transfer. This is FTP, file transfer protocol. Okay, so there are multiple protocols that Jmeter supports, and HTTP, FTP, SOAP, JDBC, LDAP, etc. So depending on the protocol, you have to select a you know a relevant request. From here, from the interface, you see, as I showed you, that in sampler is nothing but a request. There are a lot of request type. You have FTP request, you have HTTP request, Java request, JDBC request, and so on. So here I am just trying to show you that here I'm going to get connected to google.com. This is the website I am getting connected to. So I will create an HTTP request. So I have added the sampler. Sampler is nothing but a request, and this is HTTP type request. You can see the name here. You can edit the name also. On the right side control panel, you see you can change the name. I say Google. Okay. So what is the web server? What is the web server name or IP address of Google? So I will simply say google.com. Okay. Port number, blah blah, HTTP request. So these are the three implementation of HTTP request: HTTP client 4, 3.1, or Java. These are the three methods in which any HTTP request can be implemented. So we'll stick to the latest one, that is HTTP client 4. Even if you change it to Java, it's not a big deal. Still, let's stick to the default. There are some method types, like you want to send your request on the request method get, post, head, put, options, etc. So let us just stick to the defaults again. Now what I'm trying to do is, I simply have a test plan, which was when you open a blank script, default interface of Jmeter will show you two nodes, test plan and workbench. Under test plan, I have this thread group. You must have a thread group before you begin your test scripting. Then simple controller, and here is a request. Okay. So when I run this code, when I run this script, I must save the test plan before running it. So I will save it on the desktop. I'll create a folder, say Jmeter scripts, and I'll call it day 1. So if you notice, the extension of the script that just got saved is nothing but JMX. .jmx. JMX is for Jmeter script. This green button you can use to start, or else you can go to Run tab and you can use Start. The shortcut is Ctrl R. So what we'll do is, it will start the thread group. Now this thread group has one user. As you see, under the thread properties, we have set number of users to be 1, ramp up period 1, and loop count we have not turned on forever. We have given the count to be 1. That means we only want once this code to be run. So whatever is under this thread group will be run just once. This is nothing but iteration. Okay, so simple controller, and this all happens in a tree-like hierarchy. So you have test plan of which the child is 10 users. This is thread group, and under thread group simple controller, and then this is the request, HTTP request. So I'm just going to run this code. When you see when the code runs, it was too fast. When I click on run, you see on the over here in this section, just use over here you will see this is the gray box 0/1. Now this 0/1 is saying that the total one number of users intended to run for this test. That means the thread group has 1 user. However, currently 0 are running. So when the test runs, because it is a very fast run, you will see when it runs, it will become 1/1, and then this gray box will turn green. Just notice it. I'm just going to run this code again and you notice it. So 1/1, and it took just a few seconds, maybe 2-3 seconds of time to run this test because it's just a single request, HTTP request. But how do we know what happened to the test, whether this request passed, failed, or did the test go through well? We have no clue, right? Because we have only added one controller and one request. In Jmeter, you also have to add listeners to get the result. Now, in the same thread group, if you add this element called listener, it will help you see the result. Okay. So I will add a very simple listener, view results tree. There are many listeners here. We'll come to each of them in subsequent classes, but for now you see view results tree. So I've added one listener. So what will happen is when I run this test, I should be able to see the status of this HTTP request Google, whether it passed or failed in view results tree listener. Since you see that both these nodes, simple controller and view results tree, is part of this thread group, so it will be taking account for all the requests that are on the same level. Simple controller, under which Google is the request which is on the same level, so it will take care of Google also. On the right side, when you have highlighted view results tree listener, you see that you can change the name. So I can change it to Google request result. Anything you want to name which describes it the best, you can do that. So I'm just going to run the test once more, and okay. So the run has completed, you see, and over here you do see that each request that was run is shown here. Okay, you see the sample result. Response code 200, which is success. Request is like this. Response data is like this. Okay. The very fact that there's a triangle and there's a green triangle and tick on it shows that the request went through well. Okay, the response was received. If there was any problem or something wrong with this test, then there would have been a red sign to show the error.